Good morning. Welcome to Saturn Advice webinar this morning. We've got two presentations for you today, and we thank you very much for your time joining us this morning. A couple of housekeeping pieces here. We've got the questions function on the left-hand side, and we're assuming everyone can hear us. So maybe as a note that some people can hear us. I'm coming from a Hopi Beach today. That's my home. And if people would like to submit in the question side just where they're located currently, that will show us that a few people are actually hearing us. We're recording the webinar today, so that will be shared with you after the presentations as well. So if you miss anything in the presentations or you're thinking you have to jot things down, most will be available via the recording and any offers that are made by Edwina and Joyce today as well. We have two, the question feature I did cover off. We have two presentations. Edwina will come first today. Her business is Holistic Success, and she has some pretty powerful money management messages and information for us. Should find that very interesting presentation. And secondly, we have Joyce from Saturn Advice, and she will also give us some information on investing and some similar concepts, but in an investing sense, as Edwina shares, in a debt sense. So really looking forward to the presentation today. Today's my first time share in the driver's seat or participating in a webinar, so I'm pretty excited about how this is going to go, and hopefully we put on a good presentation for the listeners. I will hand over to Edwina now, and we'll get things underway.
Cool. Thanks, John. Can you pop up the presentation, please?
Sure. We're just getting that into gear. And I need to share that. There we go.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm really grateful for your time today. Just wanted to let you know a little bit about me. So when it comes to savings and spending, I've been on both sides of the coin. I have saved everything and I have spent everything. So growing up in a single parent household, my dad was extremely smart with money, and he would save every dollar he could to put towards investments. Now, when I was that young, I didn't realize that's what he was doing. So to me, money was scarce. And as a result, I grew up as an extreme saver. Now, I can tell you it's not a fun way to live. I was denying myself a lot of things that I enjoyed. Now, skip forward to my mid-20s, and I moved to London for a few years, and my situation was completely the opposite. I was living paycheck to paycheck, spending all of my money on partying, traveling, shopping, and having an amazing time. Now, it wasn't until I got back home to New Zealand that I was reflecting upon my situation, and I was really quite disappointed in myself. I thought I'd be further along financially than I was. And then and there, I decided that by the time I was 30, I'd purchase my first home. So obviously, in order to do that, I needed to save, but I didn't want to revert back to the extreme saver. I wanted to save, but also enjoy myself. And that's where I found my saving sweet spot, where I could save a decent portion of my pay every paycheck and also have fun and enjoy life. And that's been my lifestyle ever since. And my partner and I successfully purchased our first home by the time I was 30. So that was really exciting. So I just wanted to quickly share with you the number one reason why I feel most people struggle with their saving, with their money, and that's mindset. Now, if you split up the word impossible, it spells I am possible. So for a lot of us, certain things can seem impossible, but with a shift in our mindset, it becomes possible. So as you know, we live in a data-driven world where you can find out how to do anything, right? So why don't we then find that information and use it to successfully accomplish something? Now, most of the time, people don't do that because of their mindset. And it's what we're telling ourselves and what we think we're capable of. So for me, growing up with a scarcity mindset, and I also believed that money was hard to make. To quote my father, money doesn't grow on trees, right? So because of this belief, I always accepted low-paying jobs that didn't pay well and that were really hard work. And I did that up until recently. So it can show you just how powerful your mindset is that creates your reality. So what can you do to start shifting your mindset today? Well, whether you realize it or not, we all ask ourselves a lot of questions every day. Now, one thing you can start doing is to pay attention to the questions you're asking yourself around money and start asking yourself the right questions. Because if you ask yourself limiting questions, you'll get limiting answers. And if you ask yourself empowering questions, you will get empowering answers. Now, this is actually based on science. I don't have the time to run through the science behind it with you now. I just wanted to let you know that this is a super powerful technique that you can use, and it's so simple. So if you find yourself asking limiting questions like, why am I bad at saving? Your brain will actually go to work to find the answer. And the answers will be things like, oh, my parents weren't good with money. I never got taught how to save as a child, or that's just who I am, right? Limiting questions give limiting answers. So rather than asking yourself, why am I bad at saving? You should actually ask yourself, how can I be better at saving, right? So that will give empowering answers like maybe you can focus on your relationship with money or work on your bad shopping habits or maybe find an expert who can help. Okay, so this is a super easy and super powerful technique you can use today in any area of your life, not just your finances. So if you change the questions you are asking yourself, you'll shift your mindset from seeing obstacles to seeing opportunities. Okay, so I just really wanted to touch on debt because so many Kiwis are stuck in the debt trap due to compound interest. So compound interest is essentially interest on interest. So say you have a credit card. When interest is charged on your credit card, it gets added to the principal amount to create a larger balance. And then next time you're charged interest, it adds on top of the balance and so on and so on. And it can easily spiral out of control. So here's an example. So say you have an outstanding balance on your credit card of $3,000 and you only make the minimum monthly repayments every month that's required from your bank. It will take you almost 18 years to fully pay the credit card off. And you'll pay about $3,500 of interest. That's if you make no additional purchases on your credit card. So the ideal situation is to pay off your credit card before it becomes interest bearing. Okay, now if that's not possible, then just pay as much as you can afford. So in my online course, I dive deeper on how you can repay your debt. I just really wanted to show you what compound interest can do if you're in debt, and it's not just credit card debt. Okay, it can easily spiral out of control, and some people get stuck in the debt trap their whole lives. Okay, so now I just wanted to share with you the two most common strategies for saving and why they don't work for most people. So the first strategy Jo uses. Now, Jo earns more than enough to cover her needs, plus some money to spare. And financially, she's winging it, right? She just goes with the flow. So her saving strategy is to save whatever she has left over at the end of the month. Now, the problem is that she never has any money left over, right? And this just leaves her feeling frustrated and disappointed. She's no further along in her financial journey, and it reinforces her false belief that if she only had more money, she could save. So why doesn't this strategy work? Well, Parkinson's law can actually help me explain why. So Parkinson's law is a statistical model, and it can actually help us understand human behavior. So with regards to money, most of us are wired to spend all the money we have available to us. So that's why for most of us, earning more money won't help us save, because you'll just end up spending it all. As your income increases, your expenses increase. So the second strategy Charlotte and David uses, now they would like to buy a deposit, they would like to save for a deposit for a house, and they're a bit more structured when it comes to their saving. So what they decide to do is to create a budget. Now, initially they get really excited when they realize how much money they can save. However, after a day or two, they realize how restrictive the budget is, and they start saying no to things they enjoy, start to feel suffocated, and it's not long before they end up over budget and arguing, feeling disappointed and deflated. It's just too hard that they're feeling it. Saving's just too hard, and it reinforces their belief that they're just not good at saving. Now, budgets are a great tool for businesses and for low income households that barely earn enough money to cover their needs. Now, in my opinion, budgets are not a great way to save if you earn a decent amount of money to comfortably cover your needs. Now, the reason why I believe this is, to me, budgets are like diets. They're too restrictive. Their success is based on your willpower. They're not fun. They're just not sustainable long term. And while you might lose weight in the short term, you gain it back. So while you might save, a lot of people then just, explode and spend a lot of money. Now, who actually enjoys budgeting anyway? Right? I see people's faces gloss over as soon as I mention the word budget. And they do take up a lot of time, and they can create and foster a scarcity mindset. It's not the way I want to live my life, and I'm guessing it's not the way that you want to live your life either. So have you tried one or two of these saving strategies in the past, and what was your experience? I would love for you to drop that down in the comments. There's no judgment here, and I'll just be curious to see who has tried it. Now, if you did try these in the past and you weren't successful, please do not beat yourself up. Doesn't mean that you're not good at saving. Doesn't mean that you'll never be good at saving. It doesn't mean that saving is really hard. All it means is that you have tried a saving strategy that didn't work, and not a very good saving strategy, right? So it's not just you. So many Kiwis are struggling with their saving. Now it's time to find better strategies for saving that work for you rather than against you. Now, the number one strategy that I use to become a successful saver is to save first. Now, I know that sounds really simple, but it is incredibly powerful. By removing the savings from your bank account first, you can then spend all the money that's left over in your everyday account if you want, and that works alongside Parkinson's law. So the best way to do that is to set up an automatic payment that comes out the day after you get paid to go into a separate bank account. Now, if you're the kind of person that gets really tempted when you see your bank account rise, you just want to spend it, you can set up banking restrictions to make it harder for you to access the money. So you want to make it as easy as you can for yourself, not harder. So people then wonder, well, then how much money should I save? I work on percentages, and it's really hard to say, because a single mum earning $40,000 a year has a very different savings potential than a couple with no children and a household income of $120,000, right? So in my Savings Made Simple course, I have a step-by-step system for working out the savings potential. But if you want to get started today, then what I would recommend is by starting off small and building upon it. So even if that's just 5% of your take-home income, and as your confidence builds, you can then increase that amount. Now, for most people, they don't even end up missing the savings portion from their bank account. It's almost like your KiwiSaver contribution, right? It's almost like the money wasn't even there in the first place. And that's another reason why this is an incredibly powerful saving strategy. So other things that you can do is to go through your recurring bills. So grab a bank statement and note all your subscriptions and recurring bills, and then go through each of them and ask yourself, can you cancel any or can you reduce the amount of any? So this alone can have a massive impact on your savings. So for a lot of people, they have gym memberships, but they don't go to the gym. Okay, that's a great one to cancel. Now, I was one of those people. I kept my gym membership as motivation to go to the gym. It just didn't work, right? I was just wasting money. So I ended up canceling it and saving over $1,000 a year. Or maybe you signed up to a 2-year contract for internet and the contract period has now lapsed. You could then search to see if it's still a good deal, what other options are out there to see if you can possibly save. Now, uncovering your spending habits is a very powerful thing you can do, and it can be very eye-opening for a lot of people because a lot of us aren't super conscious spenders. A lot of us are actually impulse buyers. Now, clarity is an important element to success. So when we gain clarity around our spending habits, we are one step closer to success. So one way that you can do this is to work out what you're spending your money on and to see where you're overspending. So that way you can focus your saving efforts rather than trying to save everywhere, which can be quite overwhelming for some people. Now, I'll quickly run through the steps on how you can do this for yourself. Now, just to note, some people do get stuck on this exercise. It might be a bit too much. Now, that's totally fine if that's you. I can help go through it with you or for you. Just get in touch after the webinar and I'll be happy to help. So to do this, I suggest using 3 months of bank statements. 3 months is better than 1 because it will give you more accurate averages. And you can either grab a paper statement or download it in an Excel spreadsheet. I prefer the Excel spreadsheet because you can sort the columns and you can bulk categorize, but I can run that through with you later if you're not too sure what that means. Normally, I suggest the last 3 months. Now, we've been in lockdown for almost 3 months, right? So your spending has likely changed quite a lot during COVID lockdown. So if you want to, you can choose the last 3 months prior to lockdown for a more clearer picture of your normal spending habits, because hopefully we'll be getting out of lockdown soon. Now, the next thing you can do is categorize your spending. So go through every transaction, categorize it into categories like the ones on the screen. Now, it's important to note when I say food, I mean basic food that you buy from your weekly shop at the supermarket. Takeaways are like restaurants, going out to restaurants or cafes, and it's really important to make the separation for the purpose of this exercise. Now, once you have categorized everything, you can then add up the totals of the different categories and divide the total by 3 to get the monthly average, or you can also get a weekly average, and reflect on what you have found. So when you reflect, you can ask yourself questions like, is there any that you're surprised by? Now, one lady that did this exercise, she was shocked when she realized she was spending at least $150 a week at cafes. She had absolutely no idea. And that's in addition to her weekly family food shopping, right? So that would be a good one. And have a look at the categories. And are there 1 or 2 categories that you can easily save in? If so, focus your saving efforts on those ones that you can save in. And I normally rank the categories from the category with the largest total down, because obviously the one with the largest total, that's where you can potentially have the most savings. Cool. So I hope you found this presentation really helpful. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to saving. So if you're frustrated and disappointed in your financial situation and you're ready to go from little to no savings and feeling uncertain about your financial stability in future, to mastering your savings and having that peace of mind knowing that you and your family have financial stability, then I invite you to the Savings Made Simple online course. Saving doesn't have to be hard. In fact, it actually can be really simple if you know what to do. And I would love to share with you my strategies and tools to become a successful saver, tools that work for you rather than against you. Now, this course is for you even if you haven't been successful at saving in the past. No matter where you are on your journey, whether you're drowning in debt or ready to save to invest. So it's a 3-module course, and it will help you create a solid foundation for success, discover how you can have fun while saving, uncover your savings potential, create a simple savings framework, and connect with like-minded people in our Facebook group so you can share your journey and you're in this together with them. I do have a few bonuses like how to goal set like a boss, and I use the same technique they did for the moon landing, which is a really powerful technique. So normally your investment will cost $2.99 for this course, but because of this webinar today, I would like to offer you $50 off, bringing the total to $249. And that discount is available until midnight on Sunday, using the discount code MONEYWEB21. And I offer a 30-day free money back guarantee because I'm so confident that you'll love this course and find it hugely valuable. So that's also available. And yeah, so what have you got to lose? If you're interested in this course, there'll be a link in the email and that you'll receive at the conclusion of this webinar. And yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Edwina. Yeah, some very powerful messages in there for the savers. And, you know, with all the events happening in the world these days, having a bit more control over our own savings and money management and a few resources on hand if things don't go exactly to plan, I think that makes good sense. And also the compounding benefits of making, you know, the right choices of where to start to get the maximum result. You know, a little bit of good advice can make that a lot easier.
Okay.
Now, when you've saved all this money and you're ready to invest, we now have Joyce from Saturn Advice to present, and she'll talk you through some similar concepts. Certainly, you'll note the compounding effect concept, which in the debt world goes against you, in the investment world goes with you. So I'll load Joyce up with her screen share now and let Joyce take over for the next session.
That's great. Thanks, John. Hello, everybody. I'm Joyce, and I'm excited being here today. Just waiting for John to load it up. And as John mentioned earlier, Edwina spoke to us about powerful mindset and ways to create a bit of surplus income. The next question is what to do with it, with that surplus income. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. Okay, so now first up, just a bit of housekeeping. We must have our disclaimer. So the information that's shared today are general information only. These are not personalized advice. And we do encourage you to seek personalized financial advice, which takes into account your unique circumstances. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, what I'd like to talk about is common problems that's stopping us from investing, magic of compounding return, and I want to talk at a high level of 3 common investment options. Last but not the least, I'll leave you with some food for thoughts. Now, before I delve into it, I just want to share with you my personal story. It's important because it motivates me being here today to talk about the what, why, and how of investing. I came to New Zealand as an international student 20 years ago. Didn't come from a rich family, so it's a lot of working over and above university to pay my way through uni. After graduation, I took a plunge into the financial service industry and been there ever since. I spent 7 years with ANZ, specializing in home loan and commercial loan. It's a critical experience for me because it laid foundation for my understanding of how financial system works and how to use money to make money. At age 29, I purchased my first property with my KiwiSaver as a deposit. It is an apartment in a pretty average area. In a few years' time, the property value went up and it got me into a position to purchase a rental property. After that, I became quite interested in asset classes outside of property. That's when I took a leap of faith and became a financial advisor, which is the field that I'm in today. I feel really privileged working in the wealth advisory industry because it provided me access to information and to some really talented people. That's how I learned about shares, bond market, how various asset class work with each other through different cycles. And I had a bit of surplus income, so I started making regular contribution to build up a portfolio, which now act as a little bit of a backstop, as well as providing cash flow on as required basis. I feel really, really lucky. Well, I do cherish my achievement. I knew I didn't do it on my own. What helps me with the smart outcome is access to the right information, getting sound advice, and the ensuing action to achieve these results. So I think everybody needs a sounding board with expertise and experience. You don't know what you don't know, and I want to be that person for you. That's why I'm here today. So let's look at the common problems. So what's stopping people from investing? Through talking to many clients over the years, generally come down to 4 large categories. What's stopping you from investing? Feel free to share them in the chat box. So reason number 1 is information overload. You go to Dr. Google, there are hundreds and thousands of search results with contradicting views. So who do you trust? For some of us, it's too little money. We think it's too little money, not worth it. As if you always need, it's that nothing or all mentality. Also, what comes into play is fear of making mistakes, also known as paralysis by analysis, as if we make a mistake, we will never be able to recover. Last one is a really big one, no implementable plan. It is relatively easy to dream up an ambitious goal. However, without designed moves that's specific, measurable, and time-bound, it's really easy to lose track and momentum. So hopefully by the end of this webinar, this presentation, I've helped some of you overcome your obstacles. So why do we invest? Because it feels like a silly question because everybody wants better return, right? Well, it's because power of compounding return. Now, compounding return, Edwina also mentioned earlier in the credit card case. Well, it's not compounding return, that's compounding return in reverse, actually, a downward spiral. Well, here I'm talking about an upward spiral. So compounding is what happens when you take a number and increase it over and over again by a percentage. This quote from a famous person describes it really well. It's money makes money, and the money that makes money makes money. If you know who this famous person is, pop the answer in the chat box. The quote is fairly abstract. I've actually prepared a table to illustrate the power of compounding for you. So let's say you took Edwina's advice and created saving potential of $500 a month, right? And you put that into an investment which provides 6% return per annum. And you keep going at it, $500 every month. By year 10, your investment is expected to grow to 81,000. Now let's break it down. Your own contribution is about 60,000 and the market gain is about 21,000. Not bad. And you stay patient and you keep going at it. 10 years go by and your investment increased to 231. And this time, the market return of approximately 111,000 is kind of catching up to your own contribution of 120, and you persevere. By year 30, your investment has grown to 502,000. And what we need to pay attention to is here, the market has done most of the heavy lifting. It actually generated 322,000 return, outstripping your own contribution of 180 without exchange for any of your time and labor. So this is how compounding works, right? Those first few years of compounding are really, really boring. If you stay patient, each year the investment earning is higher than the last. It will hit a critical point when things get exciting. The investment gains start to outstrip the capital contributed. It starts really slow, then it accelerates the longer you let it go. So going back to the common objection of, I've got too little. Even if you've got $50 per month, time is your best friend. It will snowball. So where do we invest our money? What do we invest in, right? So we've got limited time today, and there are many, many investment options out there. I'm only going to focus on three most common ones for the audience, for the listeners. Now, I want to, because we're working professionals, it's unlikely we would have 250,000 to splash out on a big investment. So I want to start on investment with little or no entry barriers. First up, direct shares. That's when you purchase company shares from stock exchange via a licensed broker. The two platforms that gained a lot of traction over the last couple of years are Sharesies and Hatch. On their website, both stated no minimum investment and withdrawal could take 2 to 4 working days. So this type of investment is fairly liquid and accessible. The positive is that you have full control of what goes into your portfolio and what comes out. And you could be in for significant gain if you get it right. I mean, take Tesla, for example, it's up 175% over the last 12 months. If you invested in the right stock, there is significant upside. The flip side of the coin is, what if you get it wrong? Take myself, for example, I, being a financial advisor, I purchased A2 milk at $18 last year. So there was a good entry point, and it's lost about 63% of its value. The reality is that when you build a direct share portfolio, it's pretty hard to achieve diversification because of the capital required to own 100 companies, for example, and the trading cost that's involved in setting it up. So if I had all my money invested in A2 milk, I'd be devastated. I mentioned earlier about trading costs. So, trading costs is referring to brokerage, and also when you do it through Hatch and Sharesies, they also charge a percentage on foreign exchange. So take Tesla, for example. Again, if you buy one share of Tesla, one share, that is, it will cost approximately $10 via Sharesies and $8 via Hatch. So these costs are incurred on both buy and sell transactions. You can see if you trade frequently, they do add up. And so who are direct share portfolios for? I think two types of people. One is if you really, really enjoy DIY and you don't mind spending hours in front of the computer, reading company news, financials, doing your analysis, and you have high conviction on stock selection. The second type is, people who's got a bit of play money and they learn things by doing it. So, dipping your toe in share market just to learn how it works, that's also okay. So if you don't enjoy the technical aspect of investing and feel that your time can be better spent doing something else and investing should be left to professionals and there is managed fund, I looked up, I think if you purchase directly from fund managers, it typically require a minimum deposit of anywhere between 1,000 to 2,500. Alternatively, you can join most managed funds through platform with lesser amount. Generally speaking, to make a withdrawal from managed fund, it takes 5 to 7 working days. So again, it is quite accessible and liquid. The positive is obviously diversification. If you go into a multi-asset class managed fund, it typically holds anywhere between, it holds hundreds and thousands of companies across different asset class, sector, and geographical region. As the old saying goes, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And it can be cost effective. Make sure you read product disclosure statement. Typically, the managed fund don't charge entry and exit fee, which makes it more suitable if you make regular contribution like I do. Investors do need to pay attention to ongoing management fee. So every managed fund will charge its management fee. How much they charge depends, and it has a huge range. Each fund would have a different style. Some are aimed to track the market, while others are aimed to outperform the market. Some are more diversified than the others. So as an investor, make sure you pay attention to value for money. So, and also, what you get after fee. Also, what support do you get on your investment journey? I personally don't believe a single fund manager can be a specialist in everything. So I take a multi-fund manager approach to have as much diversification as possible. So if one fund manager takes a misstep, then my entire investment will be dragged down with it. All in all, buyers be aware, do your research, and if unsure, talk to a trusted financial advisor. KiwiSaver is also a type of managed fund. We will run a standalone webinar on that. What you want to know about KiwiSaver, pop your questions in the chat box, and we will try to incorporate that into our webinar. And that leaves me with the last investment option, which is residential investment properties. It does require more capital outlay, but if you already have an owner-occupied property and you've got quite a bit of equity in there, there is always an option of borrowing against it. Now, the positives of residential investment property is brick and mortar, it's tangible, and it's income generating. You do collect a bit of rent. To me, the single biggest benefit of residential investment property is the ability to leverage to enhance return. When I say leverage, I'm referring to borrowing money. So I've again prepared an example to demonstrate. So if we look at the table on the right, let's say you purchase a property for $1 million. And you did not borrow any money from the bank, and cash buyer, you've got $1 million. Wish we are all in that kind of position, don't we? And in 20 years' time, you sell it for $2 million, right? So you made $1 million over $1 million capital. That gives you return on capital 100%. In the second scenario, everything else being equal, you are still buying for $1 million, selling for $1 million. But this time you decided to borrow money. So you're borrowing 60%. It means you put down your own capital of 400,000 and use 600,000 of bank's money. And so you made $1 million over your own capital of 400,000. That push up leverage, that enhance the return from 100% to 250%, which is pretty awesome. But there is always a but. This example is oversimplifying. What's not being taken into consideration is the holding costs and transaction costs associated with property. To borrow money from the bank, you pay mortgage interest. Depending on the interest rate over 20 years' time, it accumulates. It amounts to a large amount. Over and above that, there is council rates and insurance premium and ongoing maintenance cost you would have to pay on a year-on-year basis. And when you sell your property for $1 million property, generally you can pay anywhere between $25,000 to $40,000 in real estate commission. These are the things that investors should take into consideration when you calculate your projected return. illiquidity is another thing about residential investment property. You see the equity, the value going up, but you can't really use that money. You can't sell a bathroom to buy upgrade your car or pay for overseas trip. And also, property doesn't offer a lot of diversification, not as diversified as investment portfolio, in the sense that you are really just exposing yourself to one sector and exposing yourself to one city, one street, one suburban area, one street, and one house. Commercial property also gained quite a bit of traction over the last 12 months. We do have a webinar on that. I will send out the link in the pack post-webinar. So we've looked at the why and the what of investing. So how do you determine what to actually invest your money in? It's a bit like finding the missing piece in the jigsaw. And it's really important. You should always think about it. When I take my clients through consulting work, these are some of the questions that I take them through. So first up, think about what's important to you. Why are you investing in the first place? To give you an example, I met a couple last year, and they are in high stress, high pay job, and their priority is to get to financial freedom independent of their work as soon as possible, so they can spend less time working and more time on things they are passionate about. Home ownership is not a priority for them. So it didn't actually make sense to tie them down with a big-ass mortgage, rather focusing on maximizing their saving potential and building a portfolio that's more accessible and liquid. The next one is stop and think about what's not working for you currently. What is the lifestyle you want over time? And what kind of experience do you want as an investor? Is it hands-on or hands-off? How much time do you want to spend on managing? If you want to spend zero time managing, then you probably want to get somebody else to do it for you. Once you pick your investment, choices of investment, and bear in mind they are not mutually exclusive, always ask yourself, map it out. How my chosen strategy will help me achieve what I want to achieve over time. Right? We would hate for you to travel 10 miles down the road and only to realize that's not where you want to go in the first place. It takes me 2 minutes to ask these questions, but it does take a lot of time, a lot of thinking, planning, and redesign work to get to the answers. And you also need to remember to review it annually as the macroeconomic environment change, and also your personal circumstances can change as well. So I do encourage you to, put aside a bit of time this weekend, think about it. And if you need someone to help you gain clarity, stay connected, and committed to your goal, talk to a trusted financial advisor. I'm here to help. You've got my contact details on the screen. Feel free to take a photo of that. What's being discussed today is not an exclusive guide of what to do. It's really just a starting point to open your mind to options and opportunities. As a token of appreciation, I'm offering 15 minutes fee-waived consultation online, and the offer is valid for 7 days until midnight, 17th October. So feel free to drop me an email to organize the time, or you will get a survey early next week and pop your details in there if you're interested, and I'll reach out. Thank you, and I'm sure there will be some questions. I'm just handing it back to John.
Thank you, Joyce. Some powerful information there also from Joyce. Great overview of the different classes of investments. And, one of the main things with investing, no matter where you are on the investing journey, whether you're thinking about it or you're actually an investor, is to really think about where you're wanting to get to and what amount of effort you're wanting to put into things. And, generally the experts or the trusted advisors are there to help you through that journey and make that as easy as possible for you to have success. So Joyce has also got an offer here on the screen, and I would encourage you to take that up and have a quick chat with her. She is a wealth of information in the investment space and has helped a lot of people out. So we've got a little bit of time for questions here. We've got a couple that have come in. The first one for Joyce is, what sort of investment dollars do I need to set up a portfolio? And the second part of that question also, is this generally a short-term or a long-term type investment if people were going to work with you, Joyce?
Sure, John. That's a two-part question. I'll answer the second part first. Generally speaking, when you invest your money, especially when it goes into share market, goes up and down. So yeah, medium to longer term investment, probably not for short term. And in terms of dollar amount, as I mentioned earlier, so if you're looking at a managed fund option through like InvestNow platform, I believe you can invest with as little as $50. Different fund manager would have different minimum investment criteria. Yeah, but nothing is too small, in short.
So the main point there is to take some action and get started as a first step is sometimes the most important one. Thank you. One for Edwina, just on your consultations and the people that you work with, what do you see as the areas where generally people can make the biggest results to start with in their savings journey? What's a sort of a common thing that people are maybe overlooking and there's a big win for them there? You're on mute, sorry, Edwina.
Sorry about that. So a lot of the time I find one of the biggest categories people can save in is food. A lot of people are spending a lot of money on food, going out to restaurants, cafes, or even just supermarket shopping. So one thing that I actually recommend to people is when you go supermarket shopping, take a list. And then I never ever go food shopping on an empty stomach. If I go food shopping on an empty stomach, I will literally buy the whole supermarket because I'm just so hungry, right? So if you go and you're full, then you're not really attracted to the food so much. So you can even keep some snacks or something in your car, some nuts. The other thing with food shopping is that I tend to find that the more common, well-known, more expensive brands are at eye level in the supermarket shelves. So you can actually shop below. So look below, and that's generally where the cheaper options are. So food saving, definitely. The other thing I find is one of the biggest categories is household expenses. So just going through, some people want to buy a home, but they are renting a massive house, and it's got more rooms than they require. So it's kind of, I would suggest going through those categories yourself and having a look and seeing, is that, like where you are overspending. But food definitely would probably be the highest.
Thanks, Edwina. There's one also a question here, the tipping point between budgeting and moving to investing. So what I might make a comment on that, and then I'll let each of you have a word. So I think that one of the concepts that Edwina put into place or suggested in her presentation was making sure that you're paying yourself first where possible. So what that effectively means is if you've got a pay packet of $1,000 coming in your hand, you want to take something of that $1,000 straight away, whether it be $100 or whatever that number happens to be that works within your financial situation, and then shift that money away into a savings vehicle. Then with the remaining monies that works within your budgeted amount or your spending plan, you then can utilize that money knowing that you've already put money away to invest. And to Edwina's point, if you do it the other way round, so not pay yourself first, have your $1,000, go out and do all the things that you need to do, more often than not, there'll be nothing available at the other end of it for saving. So that would be my answer. Any comments from you guys on that?
I would just add that when it comes to saving, before investing, it's a great idea to have an emergency fund account. That can be really, really important. So I would suggest after you've, having a full emergency funds account, between 3 to 6 months of living expenses, most financial advisors recommend. Once you've got that as a buffer, as a safety net, then you can go ahead and invest.
Yeah, and I would just add, 100% agree with Edwina, and I would just add that, don't ever think that you need to earn a certain amount to start saving and investing. There isn't a target there. It's often you just need to start doing it. Of course, you want to have all your you have your bills paid on time. Make sure all the mandatory spending is set aside. But if you start saving and start investing, often it's action that leads to positive result, reinforce positive action. So going back to what I said earlier, it's about implementable action and actually have these actions in place.
Great, thank you. One more we've got here is, I just don't know where to start with the why, what, why, and how on the investing for somebody. To that point, I think probably if for the very simple answer to that question would be to take Joyce up on her 15 minutes fee waive consultation online and get a booking with her straight away for your personal requirement. But for the benefit of the webinar, what can you sort of share, Joyce, for making the first step?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd say, yeah, you start with the what, why, and how. Why do you want to invest in the first place? Because ultimately that determines, what kind of investment is suitable for you. If you take me up on the consultation, these are the questions that I will be asking you as well. Sometimes you go up to I think we all have this experience. Somebody come up to us and say, I made great money in property, or I made great money in a share portfolio. Do it, right? But you don't really, that person has a predetermined outcome for you, doesn't actually know what your personal circumstances is. So it's important for you to gain clarity. And for those people who probably want to do a bit of DIY, learn a little bit about investment themselves. Government has a really good website. I think it's sorted.org.nz. Don't quote me on that. Just Google Sorted. And there are a lot of good articles about different asset classes, investing. That could be a starting point.
Thanks, Joyce. One for you, Edwina. There'll be a few of us here that maybe have ourselves a bit of a focus on saving and investing and trying to get ahead, but maybe our partner's not in line with that sort of savings, or is not in tune to it as much. Is there any tips that you can sort of give to that sort of situation? You don't want obviously a relationship bust up over money, ideally. But we do know statistically that money has a lot of effect on relationships and health as well. So having this stuff sorted out is really important.
Definitely, yes. So my recommendation would be to sit down together and first just have a chat about what your vision for the future is, knowing where you want to be in 5, 10, 20 years, and see if you can come up with a shared vision. So you both might need to compromise, right? But you need to have a shared vision of what you want for the future. Now, as you mentioned, John, finances, it can be a really emotionally charged conversation to have. A lot of people have yucky feelings around talking about their finances. So what I normally suggest is having a chat in like a public area. I normally actually suggest going out for dinner and having a glass of wine, but can't do that at the moment. But maybe going to a park where you're both on your best behavior and just having a really calm, relaxing conversation. So the first one is to work out your shared vision. And then the next one to do is to work out what your goals are. So first of all, don't spring the conversation on your partner. That's not going to go down well. Just let them know that you want to have a conversation and go into that. So, coming up with shared goals. Now, once you've come up with kind of shared goals, if you can get to that point, one really important thing that I would suggest that you both do is to work out your deepest why you both want that vision, right? Because your why is your driving force for getting there. Now, why is it important to you, and why is it important to your partner? So oftentimes what drives you might not drive your partner. They might, so you really need to find out what drives you both. And then once you have that, just work as a team. But just try and take it, gently, and maybe do something fun together and try and have a light conversation. It can be really hard, but you do need to have those conversations about what you see in the future for both of you.
Great advice. And I think that's also where you're talking about drawing the picture. If you can get the picture aligned between the two parties, whatever that looks like, and you both agree this is where we want to get to, then it's about putting the steps in place to try and work towards that, right?
Yeah.
Joyce, you've had a bit of investment experience working away, also working with a lot of clients over the years. What are the key things that you see that if the people can get this right and they'll really do well in investing and progress?
And that's a great question, John. So there are many, I think key things, first of all, is don't have all or nothing mentality. Again, going back to that, if you've only got $50, start anyways. And these investment options are not mutually exclusive. It's not that if you have a investment portfolio that you can own a rental property. It really comes down to your unique circumstances, and some of the things can beautifully work alongside each other. And the second thing is that I think always review. I do my annual review looking at all the investment that I've got, what is the return over a 12 months period. And I ask myself, is my investment optimal? Am I getting best return on my money? And as we know, macroeconomic environment and circumstances do change. Don't be lazy. Make sure you review it. If something is not making sense, then you've got to rethink or engage a financial advisor to review your current asset allocation and determine, are there better investment that's going to yield me a better return out there? Actually, I'm going to add the third one. I think spend a bit of time getting it right rather than try to come back and fix it later. That's where the planning piece is really important. Again, goes back to the why, what, and how. Make sure you ask yourself these questions and pick what is going to get you to your final destination where you want to be.
Great information. We're in the last couple of minutes now, and I think we've covered off the questions that have been put forward. So we're mindful of everybody's time and thankful for the attendance today. I suppose the wrap up from my perspective would be looking at the presentations that we've had today, some really great information, both on how do we get our mindset right and, look to benefit our lifestyles by managing our money better. And Edwina's put a great presentation together there and has got a course and full money back guarantee on that offer as well with the discount. So I'd encourage you to take Edwina up on that. I'm sure if you need more information on that, you're welcome to contact Edwina and just whether that by email or phone and talk through that. But we know that, it's important for health and lifestyle, and not only wealth, but if you're in a position with your money and you don't have to think about and worry about money all the time, life's a lot easier. So take some action. And Joyce, thank you for your presentation and some great information there. Again, if there's anybody out there looking for investment information or really wanting to know how to start, or are there investments in the right places, I'm sure the initial call with Joyce, that's not going to cost you anything. And as you can see on here, Joyce is very personable. So she'll be more than happy to have a chat with you and see if she can help you out in any way. Main thing is get good advice and take some action and better your situation. That's a wrap for us, and thank you very much for attending. And as we said before, the recording will be sent out to you. Thank you.